Hi, and welcome to Hoffman's Hot Seat. I'm Tom Hoffman with 1-to-1 Media, coming to you from PegaWorld 2011 here in Orlando. And I'm joined today by founder and CEO of Pegasystems, Alan Trefler. And today, Alan and I will be talking about customer centricity and some of the trends that have been shaping it and impacting the thoughts of leadership around these topics. And Alan, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, very glad to be here.
So Alan, we were talking a little bit before about how customer centricity is very top of mind for many organizations right now. But why has it taken so many decision makers and organizations this much time to become more customer centric in their thinking?
You know, to reiterate, I am actually really pleasantly surprised by the sheer number of organizations that have been talking to us about customer centricity in the last 6 months especially. And I think it's taken a long time because the way many organizations grew up is through product-oriented silos. And when you have a series of products, or when a company does an acquisition, it can be very, very difficult to deal with the organizational and other challenges that collapsing those silos, or at least from a customer perspective, creating sort of a common approach to the organization, it can be challenging to just orchestrate for political and financial reasons. I think as the economy went downhill, there had been the start of people being interested in that, but the tough economic times made it difficult to invest. As we're starting to come out of it, people are realizing how far behind they are and that they need to start treating their customers as individuals and as households, or as combined businesses, as opposed to the sort of silo interactions they have.
Okay, great. So as companies start going down the path of customer centricity, what do you find tend to be the biggest obstacles that executives tend to face?
I think one of the biggest obstacles is the really, really sort of bad traditional approaches people have had to things such as CRM. I think the traditional way of thinking of CRM is dead. You need to stop thinking about having a series of contact centers, or even a contact center in and of itself. You need to be thinking of processes that might start in Facebook, might move to the contact center, and end on the web, because that's what the new generation of consumers and the new generation of businesses are expecting.
Okay. And I know you had spoken during your keynote address this morning about where Pega is positioned as a leader in CRM.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how you feel BPM helps set Pega apart from other competitors in the field?
Well, you know, the irony is I think that some of the divisions between BPM, CRM, adaptive analytics, and case management are sort of, a bit anachronistic. And that in fact, when you take a look at what you really need to do to have processes that cross your channels, what you need to do to collapse the silos, both silos around products, you know, the loan not being able to be serviced by the person who's handling the credit card, or the idea of front office and back office, to collapse all of the silos, and to get immediacy, which you need to be able to satisfy your customers. You're going to need to think in terms of bringing process and rules, common processes and common rules, into every channel. So I think BPM is the natural successor.
So Alan, can you point to any customers that you feel are really doing an exceptional job with their customer strategies in terms of how they're applying their tools and techniques towards this?
Sure, you know, it's interesting because 2 weeks ago I was at Loma, which is the big insurance company show, it's the biggest one in the world. And it was in San Diego, which was nice, but what was even nicer was hearing my customer Prudential talk about how they had used our technology to completely change the way they thought about providing service in the life industry. And they've been in a situation where they actually had 12 different call centers. They had 8 different product lines. And the presenter actually showed an example of the many, many different systems that an agent would have to look at to be able to service a customer. And of course, if the customer actually wanted to talk about their annuity or maybe change the address on their life insurance policy, they would actually have to be bounced to different centers in certain cases. And what I thought was really interesting is he said that because the systems were so diffused, when an agent took a call, they couldn't actually go to the system even. They had to write down the account number because they didn't know which of the systems they might have to go into until they heard the request from the customer. And what they've done, and he showed some great pictures of what this looked like, if they've done what we call wrap and renew of their contact center, enabling them to create comprehensive, client-oriented processes and make it so that, well, the people could worry about servicing the customer and that the systems all looked transparent to the call center agent. And he also spoke about how he's now pushing that out on the web and the agent channel and doing all the things that it takes to really achieve that customer centricity vision.
And cut through those silos, as you pointed to.
Well, the silos are still there. They're not in a way that impacts client service, at which point, it's okay to have silos in the back end of your business, at least for a while. It's when they touch your customer and interfere with the running of your business, that's the thing that needs to change and change fast.
Okay, great. So finally, I wanted to ask you, I understand that you're a skilled chess player, and I wanted to ask how, in your mind, do you feel that you apply your skills as a chess player towards aspects of leadership?
Well, I think it's interesting because I find a lot of analogies to how you run a business and how you play chess. You need to worry about strategic threats. You need to look ahead. You need to understand that the board isn't always as it seems. But business is a lot more complicated than chess, and it operates in a lot of dimensions. So I try not to get too carried away with those analogies. But I'll tell you that what companies need to do now, which I find analogous to something I learned from chess, is they really need to quickly study the position, form an assessment of what they need to do, have a strategy, and then execute on that strategy. And I think a lot of companies are at the cusp of either moving forward or falling behind. And this is going to be a watershed year as it relates to these important topics.
Absolutely. Well, Alan, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.